the process by which somebody becomes an activist, the process by which I was going to become an activist, and kind of understand how they operated. And so I went in and I just kind of hung out for a few months. And I was very fortunate in that very soon after I got there was a statewide meeting of these different anti-evictions movements. And so what I did was I made sangria for about 3 hours with a group of other people chopping lots of fruit for this giant bucket of sangria. But you know, it's like, sure, I'll make sangria. You'll have to give me the recipe because I'm not, you know, I don't generally drink sangria, but you know, that kind of just showing up and being there and listening to people allowed me to, I think, gain access. And I was really interested in the stories that people had to tell me. I mean, I've since become much more confident talking to people and thinking about how, you know, kind of their life worlds. So does that get at your question? Yeah. And Jim?
Yeah. I have this pure anecdotal knowledge. I mean, it seems like almost every Ecuadorian that I've met in Madrid has either been to New York or has family in New York. Did you find that in your research?
Guess where Ecuadorians go if they migrated in the late 90s? They went one of two places. They either went to Queens or they went to Madrid.
Right.
Really, like, so yes, I know. I have actually an informant who became a good friend of mine has a brother who lives in Queens.
So I'm interested in how many of them were able to walk away from their mortgages either by returning to Ecuador or maybe coming to New York.
That's interesting. I don't know of people who've come to New York because it was generally go back to Ecuador. There are a lot of people who were able to negotiate their, you know, to come to an agreement. And actually there were a lot of people who said, I want to leave, but I want to come to an agreement and I want to leave this kind of cerrado, you know, closed and taken care of before I embark on that journey home. It's kind of this like, I don't want to in any way fall afoul of the law and leave things kind of tied up. So yeah, but going to New York, I don't know that. It's interesting. It would be an interesting question for the next step, perhaps. Yeah.
I'm interested, Sophie, in how this movement is integrated into other social movements in Spain. So I would expect that in Spain, as another European country, there's a pretty serious anti-immigrant movement. And so is that true? And if so, what's the relationship among these different kinds of groups and movements?
So what's actually interesting about Spain is that kind of populism is generally on the left. It doesn't have a super right-wing populist character. And actually, like, a lot of the kind of dominant anti-immigration rhetoric is very much absorbed into the Conservative Party, but it doesn't display the same kind of animosity towards immigrants that you see, say, in Greece or in Italy. And that's one of the things that I have long found really remarkable about Spain. And I'm still kind of trying to understand why. And so there's been a lot of, so the housing movement is really the movement in which you see immigrant participation. They're not necessarily participating in some of the other movements around educational reforms and healthcare, and, you know, all of these different pillars of protest. But, you know, Podemos actually, which is now trying to get into the government, had immigrants on there. I mean, this is like, they have a black member of Congress. This is revolutionary in Spain. So I don't really entirely have a good explanation for why that is, but you just do not see the same kind of anti-immigration rhetoric that you see in other countries.
It's really interesting because that puts them at odds in a good way with just about all the rest of Europe. But is it because so many of the immigrants come from other Hispanic cultures? I mean, is there something with that?
It's a great question. I think one of your charts, it was a brief thing and it's finished. I mean, you know, in its 500-year history, Spain has had 15 years where it was a recipient of immigrants. The rest of its history has been sending people out. that kind of takes the pressure off them.
And I think that there was a way too in which it was this sign of globalization, like, oh, we finally arrived, immigrants are coming to us. So yeah, I think what Jim's point is also key, that it's a very short and relatively small period of time. So.
And the birth rate is so low that people do realize that they need immigrants to pay off pensions in the future. So is that?
But that's true of
Yeah.
Germany, where
Yeah,
they
that's
have low birth rate, Italy, and it doesn't make the
Yeah.
the regular population that much more friendly to the immigrants. And you could argue just for the opposite, because the immigrants have all come in a relatively short period of time, and that could actually intensify hostility, right?
Yeah.
Because it seems that much more.
Yeah, again, I don't necessarily have a good answer for that question today. I think, and there are very interesting attitudes in Spain, say, vis-a-vis Latin American immigration, where it is kind of there's this post-colonial relationship, and then also vis-a-vis Morocco, which can be very contradictory in ways that it's not just kind of animosity, and there is kind of a mutual appreciation of some sort of shared history. And others have written about this in interesting ways. But I'm still, I'm happy that the Golden Dawn hasn't arrived, or, Le Pen, which is now a totally mainstream party, hasn't really arrived in Spain. But it is, as I said, that the Conservative Party has kind of incorporated those kinds of rhetorics into it, so that there's not a need necessarily for a separate entity. But even then, you don't see the same kind of animosity.
If there are any more questions, I think we will thank Sophie again. Thank you.
There's no keyboard. I know. Thank you.
But that was
Yeah. Thank you for coming. I don't know. There's no keyboard, so I'm trying to.
Oh, I can. Jay will figure it out. He knows he's interested.